Are you a high-achieving dental entrepreneur frustrated by the gap between where you are and where you want to go? Are you tired of advisors whose advice keeps you merely surviving when you should be thriving? I'm Tim McNeely, and I believe you deserve to build true wealth so you can take even better care of the people you love, the causes you care about, and leave your dent in the universe. Welcome to the Dental Wealth Nation Show, where we hand you the keys to unlock true wealth quicker and with less effort than you ever thought. Numbers tell a story, and that story that your numbers in your practice are telling, it matters. It matters for the people you love, it matters for the causes you care about, and it matters for your ability to make a dent in the universe. And you've made an incredible decision to tune in today. I'm so excited that you are here, because by the time we finish, you're going to know that there is a proven strategic method for maximizing the enterprise value of your organization, and it starts with seeing your numbers just a little bit differently. You're going to have a clear understanding of why the accounting system you use isn't just for the back office. It's a powerful driver for your growth, for your clarity and control. But most importantly of all, you are going to feel empowered to lead your entire organization with confidence, knowing that your financial systems are aligned with your bigger vision. I am just so excited to have Ken Kaufman here today. Ken is an industry veteran. He's going to be dropping some knowledge, some truth on you. He is the founder of Accrual, and what I love about Ken is he has a passion for helping you level up your practice and gaining financial clarity and giving the tools that you need to grow with confidence. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tim. I'm so excited to be here. Love your show and looking forward to this.
Oh, man. This is such an important topic because numbers, they really matter, don't they?
Yeah, they sure do. And yet so many are afraid of them, or perhaps they just are intimidated by them because they feel like they don't have the right education, or they just haven't been trained up in those types of matters.
Yeah. Well, right. I think it really is. It's kind of that intimidation piece, and not necessarily because they don't know them, but a lot of times they just feel hard to get it. They feel unorganized. They feel disconnected from anything. And so why do you think we see that a lot in practices? What's going on? Why do we feel so disconnected from the numbers?
Well, I think that from a dentist perspective, they're really smart people. I have yet to come across a dentist that isn't very, very brilliant and really good at what they do. The education system for them around finance and business matters, there's just not a lot of that as they go through an undergraduate degree, unless maybe they get a business minor or something, and going through dental school. And so I think that there's a lack of training and a lack of education just right up front to somebody coming out of dental school not having that experience, or not having gone through classes and some type of training like they did for 4 years in dental school.
Well, right. And a lot of times, right, I think, we're relying on advisors around us to give us the numbers too, right? My CPA handles that. But once again, they don't necessarily tell a true story. So what can we start doing to start nudging things in the right direction?
Sure. So I think that the very first thing a practice owner, or even if there's a DSO that's listening in, that the key thing is instead of just receiving financial information from your accountant, force them to explain what's going on. Force them to advise you around what they see in the numbers and what things concern them and what things they think are going well inside the organization. And remember, right, they are a vendor to your organization, and you're paying them to support and serve you. And it doesn't just mean they should be whipping over a financial statement to you via email and saying, here's your financial statements, but it merits a conversation many times and getting some, real education and training.
Wow. Now, we're going to dive into this thing, and we're really going to get deep. But, for those of our listeners who haven't met you, who are you and what do you do, Ken?
Well, so yeah, my name's Ken, and I've been in and around the dental industry now for about 20 years. I primarily have worn the CFO or Chief Financial Officer hat for two very large, high growth DSOs. over 100 million of, one of them, and another close to 400 million in annual revenue. And so I've been in and around this for a long time, and finally decided to step back and figure out, how can I help the dental industry? Because there are a lot of things that I think on the finance side that really need to be reformed. And there's a lot of opportunities. And so I stepped out and started an organization called Accrual. I'm a co-founder with my son, and we're just on a mission to do all the things that we feel like the industry is dismissing and disregarding and ultimately underserving.
Wow. That's a pretty big statement, and I want to unpack that, if that's okay, right? What are some of the things that aren't getting done, or what are you on a mission to really change?
Sure. So the primary component of this is, as you're trying to build up your dental practice, or if you have a group of dental practices that you're trying to build and grow, there are very important financial components that will have a massive impact on the ultimate outcome of your enterprise, whatever you're trying to build and whatever you're trying to grow. And for the most part, the industry is really slow to help in the ways that I think we should be helping dental groups and dentists in general to build their organizations. And I mean, I can get into some of that here, based on the pace that you want to follow, Tim. But we're very, very focused on all the places where the industry is underserving dentists and dental groups.
Yeah. Well, again, I think it would help the listeners if you did kind of dive into that, right? What are some, because a lot of times, right, we don't know what we don't know. And so, I think walking through, like, what are some of the things we should be seeing, and what are those metrics? What are the things we should be measuring? Like, helping us identify those, I think, would be really powerful.
Okay, so here's one that is very important, but very dismissed, and generally dentists and groups are underserved in, and that is the implementation of accrual accounting. When you're not on accrual, it means you're on cash basis accounting. And what that means is your financial statements that you're looking at are just a representation of what has flowed into and out of your bank account during that period of time. Generally speaking, we think about it on a monthly basis. Well, the challenge then is if I'm going to take a look at, well, what happened with my business this last month, but it's not actually telling me what gross production I completed on patients. It's not telling me any of these other important things. And all I'm seeing is cash going in and out. Well, the problem is that cash can be super lumpy. When the dental exchange fiasco happened here just recently, right? If you weren't on accrual, you were on cash basis, well, you had no cash coming in, especially if you were pretty dependent on insurance companies. And so things like that really bring to the surface the vulnerability that dental practices have when they're looking at their financial statements on a cash basis. And so accrual accounting is the gold standard for getting your books organized so that every month when you're looking at them, you're looking at accuracy and you know that it's true and it's right and it's accurate. And the most powerful thing then that happens, Tim, is once you have accurate financial statements, now your ability to forecast is phenomenal. And you can do it with confidence because you're going off of truth. You're building it off of truth, not off of ins and outs into a bank account that generally don't make sense and don't connect to what the true performance of the practice is.
Wow. So is this something that a single location should be doing? Is it something multi-locations? Should we be doing it across the industry? What are your thoughts on this?
So if I go back 5 years ago, and there's still some of this attitude in the industry at large, but there was basically don't go to accrual. It's too expensive. It's too much work, and it's not worth the benefit. Well, 5 years, 6 years have gone by, and we've been working on the technology side of this. Basically, if you have a single practice and you want to be on accrual accounting, we can get you there affordably and quickly and keep you supported over time at a very reasonable cost. And that's the piece that I think nobody has really invested in to really stop and think about how to do it. And that's just one of the things that myself and my co-founder, we're just completely committed to figuring out how do we help dentists and group practice owners, how do we help them get to the next level, which is this accrual accounting. Because what comes next, we'll talk about that when you're ready, Tim, but what comes once you've got the accrual behind you, that's where the real value and the power of accurate financial statements comes in.
Yeah. Wow. So, right, if you talk to me a little bit more about kind of the cash versus accrual, right? Well, what are some things that we can do on the accrual that we really can't do with the cash? You mentioned projecting. Give me an example of what that looks like.
Sure. So if I was to say to you, okay, Tim, I want you to make an estimate of what your dental practice is going to do next month. If I was to ask you that, where would you start?
I wouldn't even know how to find out that number, right? I would say, well, what did I do last month? And maybe I do about the same.
Yep. And so everybody wants to go to the last month. Well, if the last month wasn't accurate, you see the challenge I have? If I'm going to go and try to project into the future, I'm not based on solid, I don't have a solid footing. And so the ability to forecast into the future and to understand how to grow and how to take advantage of opportunities in your group or in your dental practice, you don't have the ability to do that until you get to accuracy. But once you get to accuracy, now you have a foundation that you can build on. And ultimately, there's a whole set of financial frameworks that you can implement that will just help you blow right past your competitors, blow right past other dental practices and right past other dental groups and everything else. And you will be the darling at the ball when suitors show up and say, we're looking to buy, this group or this practice. What will happen is you're going to get a better valuation. You will have a higher enterprise value because you implement not just the accrual accounting and accuracy, but all of the forward-looking planning, because the buyer wants to know with confidence, what's this practice going to do in the future?
Yeah.
And the more confident they are in its ability to perform, what happens, Tim? They have to pay more for it.
Wow. Well, and I think you just hit on something really important that I know a lot of doctors don't necessarily see. And that's when you come to the valuation of the practice, right? Your EBITDA is going to be what your EBITDA is, but there's a range of this number, and you can control where you fall in that. And so talk to me a little bit about kind of that importance of really controlling where in the range you fall and how doing things like proper accounting helps shift you up.
Yeah. I've been kind of informally polling bankers, investment bankers, others in the dental finance world over the last several months. And I've been asking them, hey, what do you think the impact of getting accrual accounting and getting the forecasting piece, component put in place? What do you think that's worth from an enterprise value perspective? And each one of them said at least a half turn, if not a full turn, if not 1.5 turns of EBITDA on your enterprise value.
Wow. So this is real money to the bottom line and to the exit, isn't it?
Yes. And the whole reason why, remember, when you exit, it's not about you. It's about your level of confidence that you can portray to the buyer that says, this is what this practice or this group is going to do over the next 5 years. And here is all of the logic that I used to put this together. And it's sound. It's based on truth. It's based on accurate information, not squishy information or cash basis information. And when you show up with that level of confidence, the buyers are going to pay more every time.
Now I can certainly hear some doctors almost screaming out of the screen right now saying, Ken, this sounds great, but you know what? I'm just going to wait till I'm closer to my exit to do this because I got everything else I'm working on. So what would you tell that doctor who says, yeah, this sounds good, but like, can't I get to that like a year or two before I exit? Like, do I really have to do it now, Ken?
Yeah. So great question. I love it. You're right. You're hitting the nail right on the head here, Tim. I love this. So the enterprise value is going to be realized and become more and more valuable over time. And so if you're going into a process to sell your practice or your dental group, and you're saying, okay, real quick, we're going to do a Q of E, and in the Q of E, we're going to go ahead and do some adjustment numbers to get to accrual, and then we're going to do this and do that, and then we'll show that to the buyer, and valuation will come. You will not get the same valuation when you do that as if you had done that a year or two earlier, and you'd been practicing this accrual accounting concept and the forward-looking planning and all of those things. You've had those in practice. Well, guess what? After multiple reps, because you learn, right? We're all in the process of learning, where I say, oh, I think this is going to happen in the practice. And then something happens and goes different. Well, now I'm learning and I'm gaining more and more information. The longer I've been doing this, the more accurate I am at being able to forecast, which means the more confident I am, and the buyer will end up being, that my numbers are right, and that I deserve all that enterprise value.
Wow. And we got some listeners tuning in, and maybe some questions coming in. So if you got questions for Kim, drop them below. This is amazing stuff that we're talking about. We're really talking about how you can grow your enterprise value, how you can make better decisions through forecasting. And Ken, when doctors kind of start down this path, right, there's some frameworks and different ways they have to start thinking. So talk to me about some of the tools or frameworks that you use with clients that dentists may not even be aware of.
Yeah. So right out of the gate, once you get your accrual accounting in place and that's starting to function and work, the next thing that you really want to think about is cash flow. And the 13-week cash forecast is a very powerful tool that we implement just as fast as we possibly can for two reasons. Number one, and I'm sure the listeners will, this will resonate with them, but if you have ever been 5 days or less away from payroll and not had enough money in the bank to make it, that's called entrepreneurship right there, right? You're not an entrepreneur if you haven't gone through that. The 13-week cash forecast, one of its primary focuses or purposes is to be able to let you see over the next 13 weeks what is going to happen to your cash flow, so that if you see a problem, if you see you're going to run out of cash in one place or another, you've got plenty of time to solve that problem and take care of it. On the other side, what it does is it starts to illuminate if your business is generating cash or consuming cash. And by the way, we all want businesses that are generating cash, not consuming cash. It shows if you're how much cash you are creating or driving in your organization, and that then starts to tell you now what can I do with growth? Here's the cash that I'm building up and I'm accumulating, and here's how we need to start thinking about investing next and where the next opportunities are for us, whether it's same store growth, bringing in some new equipment that or training doctors on new modalities, or whatever you want to do. All of that can start to play into this cash forecast component.
Wow. So what I'm really hearing is, right, this helps you build confidence in the financial decisions you make. Because I think so often, right, I love that entrepreneur example. I'm guilty of that. I come across a project I want to do, and I kind of look at my bank account. I kind of do an estimate. I'm like, yeah, I think I can afford that. And then I do, right? And that's about all the planning that goes in sometimes. Whereas if you really are able to do forecasting, you know what your cash flow is, and you know what the impact of a new project is going to be. And so I really love this clarity that starts coming through using some of these frameworks.
Yeah, thank you. And that's really what I've decided the rest of my career is going to be focused on, is implementing all of these things inside of group dental practices and dental groups, because I think we can have a really, really massive impact on the industry. And Tim, I'll say this, I've said it before, but for the most part, bookkeepers and accountants, they're way underserving this market. And I think, anyways, we're on a mission to turn that around and start driving more value that way.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that as soon as we come back from a break here, Ken.
You're listening to the Dental Wealth Nation Show, where we give you the keys to building true wealth. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with the friends you care about. Ready to level up? Grab a copy of my #1 best-selling book, Dental Wealth Nation, and unlock the secrets of building true wealth today.
And so, Ken, we're talking about accounting, we're talking about forecasting, we're talking about making better decisions in your organization. And you mentioned a lot of the bookkeepers, a lot of the accountants really underserving their clients today. Why do you think that is? Is it because they just don't know, they don't want to do this? Like what's going on? Why don't you think more people are pushing this forward?
Okay, so there are several reasons, and I will do my best to not be too complex with this, because there is some complexity in the way things have happened over
time. We just want the simple ones today.
Okay. So we'll stay simple. Here's number one. When you go to your accountant and you say, I want to go to accrual accounting, they think two things that are really bad. They think, number one, that's going to be really hard to do, and we don't do that. That's not our process. We're used to just cash basis. We don't want to be disrupted because we've got our process already. That's the first thing. The second component of that is that the accountant becomes worried that you want to have your books, or you want to, from a tax basis, you want to convert to accrual. And that's not what you want to do, generally speaking, unless you're like getting up north of 20, 25 million in revenue or something like that. But there is a way where you can put accrual accounting in place for your books, but keep your taxes on a cash basis. And you generally want to do that because otherwise, if you were to convert on a tax basis, it would mean you'd have to pay taxes on all those uncollected receivables that you haven't come yet, and that can be very, very painful. So there are sometimes some misconceptions or reasons why people initially get concerned, and again, complexity and potential tax consequences. That both of those are very easy things to overcome.
Wow. Very, very powerful, right? Because this has some very real benefits for your organization out there. And once again, I think you've developed some amazing frameworks, right? You mentioned that 13-week cash flow forecasting. What are some other frameworks that you've been using with your clients?
Yeah. So there's some really simple ones. Like one of them is what we call our adjusted EBITDA tool. And all we do is, as we go through the financial performance of one of our clients, we'll just stop and say, hey, let's wait a second, or let's take a second and let's look through here and let's make sure, is there anything in here that's a one-time non-recurring expense that if somebody came and bought this business, it would be an expense that wouldn't continue because, maybe I've run some personal expenses through the business or other things like that. So we have a tool so that every month we're keeping track of that, which again gets us to where that's going to help drive enterprise value over time, especially if it's something that we've curated over, a 12 to 24 month period of time. And we're not trying to hustle up and scour through the books over the last 3 years to see what types of things should be in there or shouldn't be in there. Yeah. That's one. A second one is, Tim, and I think you'll be interested in this. When you go to the bank and you get a loan, sometimes the bank gives you loan covenants that you have to comply with. And my experience has been, for most doctors and leaders of smaller DSOs, they don't have much experience with what that means. That means they're not on a monthly basis evaluating their loan covenants and if they are within or if they've fallen out of compliance, which with personal guarantees and those things, that there can be a lot of very negative consequences. Mm-hmm. And so one of the frameworks that we use with our clients is we actually every month monitor all of their loan covenants, and so that we can see how much room do we have, or are we getting too close to some thresholds within that. So again, just a very simple tool, but very freeing and very empowering to the dentist, where a lot of times they have personal guarantees that if something goes sideways, right? Wow. So that's just one other small one. And on our website at accruedent.com, we've got a whole list of all the different financial frameworks that we use with our clients.
Well, right. And I think you've got a little gift for everyone who sticks around to the end, don't you?
Of course.
All right. So stick around because you're going to like what Ken's got at the end here for you. It's pretty exciting. And I know I'm certainly excited about it. So, Ken, what are some other things that we should be thinking about, right? Because this does, right? How much work do you have to put in as a practice owner, right? You've already are doing so many things. Like how hard is this process to actually start working on?
So here's the thing that I love the most about implementing accrual accounting for clients. It does not require outside of the business owner or the doctor saying, let's go ahead and do this, it requires none of their time.
Wow.
Really, it's when it's done, we say it's done, and they say, oh, really? We didn't even know, and nobody asked us any questions, and it was really that easy. All we need now is the ability to hook into a data warehouse that we actually pay for our clients, so that we can get the data we need quickly, and it's actually a really simple and clean process.
Wow. So pretty painless, because I know that's a fear sometimes that gets in the way of you doing what you should do in your practice. It's just the time commitment. It's you can only focus on doing a couple things, and we know we want to do these. So I love that you have made this painless for the doctors out there wanting to do this.
Yeah, thank you.
So do you think it also adds some competitive advantage over other DSOs that are out there?
Absolutely. Because of everything that this accuracy and this forward-looking planning and all of these tools and frameworks, when they come together just right, an interested party like private equity is going to be very attracted, much more so to a business like this than one that is very unsophisticated in the way that it approaches the bookkeeping and financial planning and everything associated with trying to build and grow a group of dental practices, or even just a single practice.
Okay. So, I know the other thing that, dentists may be thinking as they're listening to this is this something we have to replace our bookkeepers with? Do we replace our CPA? Do you work in conjunction with them? How does this process work?
Yeah. So when we come in, we work with whatever the existing system is. And we bring literally, and sorry, I'm going to talk some accounting jargon for just a second, but we just bring the journal entries in and we implement them into, if they're using QuickBooks or Xero or Sage Intacct or NetSuite, and we just layer it on top of whatever the regular and normal bookkeeping patterns and processes are.
Wow. So it really is integrated with your existing team. We don't have to replace people. You can come in and help us start doing this almost immediately, it sounds like.
That's right. And ultimately, if you want us to stay around and keep doing it once it's fully implemented, we can do that. Or if you want us to just train your team on how to do it, then we can slowly drift off into the sunset, and your team can take it and run with it. And then, of course, we're there to help. We're not trying to completely abandon, but most of the time there can be a really clean handoff with multiple options.
Absolutely amazing. So what else should we be considering as we think about finances and really growing our enterprise value in this?
Yeah, I think the thing that really, really bothers me, Tim, about what's happening in our industry is that we have very complacent players in dental finance that are not doing these things. And it's very frustrating to me because the dental groups that aren't doing it are leaving money on the table. Enterprise value is going to be less. Confidence is going to be lower, which means enterprise value is going to be less. Those two are inseparably connected when you go through a process. In my mind, knowing what I know, having been through this process multiple times, several exits, like all of those different things, at the end of the day, the sooner you can get these things implemented and make sure that it's cost effective and it's not going to be disruptive and all of those things for sure. But the sooner you can get these things implemented and get them working in your business, it will get you better enterprise value, but that's because it's going to be giving you better information so that you can run your business better and you can ultimately drive far better outcomes.
Wow. Amazing. And I think this gets missed so often. I'm a certified exit planning advisor. And one of the things I work on is the mindset shift of the owners, because so often we think exit is for the future. All that planning is for the future. But the truth is, if we do those things that you're talking about right now today, we have a better run business, not 10 years from now. We have a better run business today, immediately, right now. And so there's real benefits to doing this for sure.
And that better business generates more cash. And when you have more cash, that generates more opportunities. Maybe you want to take money out of the business. That's fine. It's your prerogative. Maybe you want to keep it in and go take on some more projects or acquire a couple more practices or do a de novo. All of a sudden you have options. And when you have options, like we can be pretty dangerous when we have lots of options, but optionality is the key to building and growing a great organization in dental, whether it's one practice or you've got multiple practices.
Well, right. And just the speed at which you can do this also is huge, right? If you can make better financial decisions because you are forecasting, that makes it a lot easier to figure out, do I get this other location? What should I acquire them for? Should I hire that new associate? Like you said, you get the options, which I think are so powerful.
Yeah, great point. Great point.
So how can we get in contact with you, Ken?
Sure. So you can feel free to send me an email. It's Ken at Accrudent, ACCRUDENT. You can also hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm on there. Feel free to come on and join or connect with me if we aren't already. And feel free to send me a message. I'm on there probably a couple of times a day, and happy to connect. In fact, just before our call today, Tim, there was somebody that reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he's looking at trying to get to Accrual, and we had a great conversation right before you and I started, and he's somebody that just reached out to me on LinkedIn. So amazing. Happy to connect in that way and others.
Wow. And you've got some resources for our listeners too, don't you, today?
Yes, absolutely. So what we can do, if you'll just reach out, send me an email or connect on LinkedIn, we can send over to you several templates that will be helpful. One of them would be the cash forecast template. Another one would be the 12-month rolling forecast template that can be very helpful in your forward-looking planning.
Excellent. And I just put your information below. I would encourage you, contact Ken, reach out, send an email, grab those frameworks. This is huge for your practice. And Ken, I love the mission that you're on. It is really trying to improve the profession, improve the industry, and really bring some high standards. So this is great. And I fully support what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure to be on the show, Tim. I appreciate what you're doing for the industry and giving voice to so many things that are happening. And I've been here for 20 years. I love dentistry. I'm not going to leave dentistry. And just excited about what the future's going to bring.
So, any closing thoughts before we sign off here, Ken?
Yeah, I always have closing thoughts. Probably more than I should. I want everyone who's listening to this to feel empowered walking away from this. Do not feel overwhelmed. Feel empowered. You are the decision maker. You are in control. And if you need to show up to your bookkeeper or your accountant or your CPA, and if it's time to have the discussion, have the discussion. Take it on. If you want to talk to me first, I can give you some pointers as to how to address what the general concerns are that I know a lot of dentists have with whoever's helping them on these matters. But I just really want to empower the dental practices and the dental groups so that they can win with this. The industry has underserved them long enough, and it's time to actually put these things in place where they're cost effective and they have massive impact for good.
Hey, and we got people tuning in. We've got, what is that? Tell Guru, thank you for the motivation. Appreciate your efforts. So listeners are tuning in and certainly appreciate what you're sharing, Ken. And I love that, right? I love that you want to leave people empowered and really feeling confident in this. So reach out. I think you've made it easy for people to do this, and what a great thing to do.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tim.
Absolutely. And hey, thank you all listeners for tuning in. We'll see you again here soon on the Dental Wealth Nation Show.
That's a wrap on today's Dental Wealth Nation Show. If you've loved today's insight, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share the wealth with your dental friends. I'm Tim McNeely, and remember, your amazing life of significance is just one smart decision away. Keep thriving, and catch you next time on the Dental Wealth Nation Show.
Hey, that was